This November, no matter the outcome, we will elect our 47th chief executive. But first, we're going to take a look back at how the presidents became president. This is your countdown to 47. Next is Big Bill, William Howard Taft. Prior to becoming the 27th president, Taft aspired to be a Supreme Court justice. His first step toward this goal was to become a lawyer, which he accomplished in 1880 with his admission to the Ohio State Bar. In 1887, Taft was named to the Superior Court of Ohio and was elected to a 5-year term the following year. During this time, his name was suggested for the U.S. Supreme Court, but his dream passed him by. Taft became the Solicitor General for President Benjamin Harrison in 1890. Within a year, he argued 18 cases before the U.S. Supreme Court, winning 15 of them. At the age of 34, Taft was appointed to the Sixth Circuit of the United States Court of Appeals, where he served for the better part of 8 years. His first post of the new century was that of Chief Civil Administrator in the Philippines, appointed by President McKinley. After Theodore Roosevelt's ascension to the high office in 1901, Taft finally had another chance at his dream to become a U.S. Supreme Court justice. He declined twice. This was due to the influence of his wife, Helen Herron Taft, who had other aspirations for him. President Roosevelt then opted to name him as Secretary of War, which he accepted in 1904. Keeping to his pledge not to run for a third term in 1908, President Roosevelt named Taft as his successor. Taft reluctantly agreed in hopes of pleasing his friend. Roosevelt's endorsement was enough to carry Taft to the Republican nomination. In the general election, Taft faced off with a familiar opponent in William Jennings Bryan of the Democrats. Taft won the election and went on to become the 27th President of the United States. President Taft agreed with much of his predecessor's policies, but he did not endorse his means. Taft believed in limited executive powers, much to the opposite of former President Roosevelt. Taft, now the chief executive, was free to govern how he saw fit. President Taft faced backlash when he defended the Payne-Aldrich Act, which kept tariff rates high. Taft oversaw the ratification process of the 16th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which authorized the federal government to institute a permanent income tax. In addition, Taft pushed for the ratification of the 17th Amendment, which allows for the direct election of U.S. senators by their constituents, rather than by state legislatures. Taft ran for re-election in 1912, but former President Theodore Roosevelt, displeased with his successor, challenged him for the Republican nomination. Taft won out, but Roosevelt and his supporters broke away from the Republicans to form the Progressive Party. President Taft placed third that November, winning only 8 electoral votes. Former President Roosevelt won 88, which remains the largest showing of any third-party candidate in U.S. history. However, the split between Taft and Roosevelt guaranteed the election of Democrat Woodrow Wilson, who won with an overwhelming 435 electoral votes. William Howard Taft served as President of the United States from 1909 to 1913. 9 years after leaving office, Taft finally achieved his dream and became the 10th Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, a post he held until shortly before his death in 1930. I'm Eric George for Valley News Live, and this has been your countdown to 47.